Welcome to the Earn More, Stress Less podcast with me, Caro Sison. This podcast is for self-employed business owners just like you, who really want to grow their business and become successful and profitable, but without all the stress and hassle. I want to share my 30 years of business experience to show you how simple it can be to earn more money and how you can get organised without needing a business degree or any other qualifications. I'll be talking about the easy steps that you can put in place right now to start earning more money today and to help you get the business that you deserve and dream of. Without further ado, let's get started. This week's podcast is sponsored by Pocket PA, helping self-employed business owners to get organised, understand their finances and do their accounts all in one place using a powerful online tool. If you're serious about making a profit and having a successful business, then using a simple digital web app like Pocket PA is the best way to grow and scale your business. Visit pocketpa.com for more details and start managing your money like a pro today. Hello and welcome to the Earn More, Stress Less podcast with me, Caro Sison. I know this is going to be an amazing episode, even if I do say so myself. So thank you for listening and investing in yourself when I know that there are just so many other things that you could be doing with the next 20 to 30 minutes. I'm really appreciative that we're going to spend this time together. So today, my guest is Sammie Ellard-King, and he's the founder of Up the Gains, a business that's dedicated to helping people navigate the complex world of personal finance. And Sammie is an amazing example. He came from 24,000 in debt after leaving university to becoming debt-free after just 18 months. And he's financially free, having established multiple successful businesses, built a growing stock portfolio, and he's even acquired his own property. So Sammie, welcome to this week's podcast. Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Caro. Thank you for having me on.
Pleasure. Now, what is financial freedom and what does it mean to you? Explain that word, financial freedom.
I see a lot of people will think, it's about being as rich as possible. And while, yes, that's a big part of it, for me, a lot of it comes down to time, freedom and choice and giving yourself that. And obviously, money is a large part of that. So, of course, we work towards some sort of financial freedom, but really what you want is that choice and that freedom to be able to do what you like with your time and really make the most impact on your own life.
Yeah, without being on somebody else's timeline, somebody else's payroll and having to be sort of that slave. So tell us a bit more about your own personal finance journey and how you managed to become debt-free in just 18 months. That's amazing. Tell us what you did.
Well, I was very fortunate that I was one of the youngest heads of marketing in the hospitality industry at 24 years old. So I was paid very well for that. So I had the fortunate, the 18 months is a nice figure, but I had good income to be able to make that change. It may take longer for other people, and that's totally fine. It's what you do to make it happen. And what I used was the debt snowball technique, which is really taking all of your debts and putting them into a smallest to biggest kind of list, essentially. Some people do it by interest. I did it by the amount. And what I did is I just targeted the smallest one with the most amount of money possible. So pay the minimum amounts on all of the others just to keep them happy and your credit score ticking along. Don't miss the payments. And then really go hard on each one. And what that does is you have small wins quickly and you get into it because you're like, done that one, on to the next one. And you really move through that and you gather momentum quite quickly. And when you're in that mind frame as well, you really do try and find ways to do it faster. So I started side hustling alongside it to really kind of put even more into it. And it was just a process, you've got to go through it. I'm a social animal. I like being out and talking to people. So not going down the pub on a Friday night was killer, but you have to do what you got to do. And, I got myself into that situation and I needed to get myself out of it.
I think that's so good that you had a system and a process, and that kind of kept you motivated and on track, because as you kept seeing that debt getting smaller and smaller in one column and eliminating it, you could then focus on the next one. And like you say, it's a snowball effect, isn't it? And you keep motivated by your own successes. So I think that's great, because there are so many things that can derail us with our finances and different callings and things that sidetrack us. So you did super well on that. And what were the sort of challenges that you faced when you were paying off your debt? How did you overcome those, and what sort of things cropped up for you?
Yeah, I think that the hardest part was the lifestyle that I was leading, and having to kind of scale back how I was. I was big on fast fashion. I loved trainers, and I'm just be honest, I was a typical like mid-20s without any kind of
You're very normal.
care in the world. Yeah, exactly. And it was those kind of sacrifices that I made that made the biggest difference. I stopped eating out every day at lunch, to keep up with the Joneses. I really kind of had a good hard look at myself, and that was the hardest part, I think. It's actually understanding who you are and what your triggers are. It's very much a mindset thing rather than a physical thing. So, you know, uh, I 100% slipped up along the way. There was occasions where I'm like, oh, sod it, I'll just get it. And like, the thing is not to beat yourself up about that, because that's life. Like, we're here to live at the end of the day. And as long as you're sort of still on the road and you don't completely derail, then you're working towards something.
Yeah, it's a bit like a weight loss journey, isn't it? And it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
it's not that one blowout pizza that you might have on a Friday night that's going to end up putting that 3 stone on. It's if you consistently keep dipping back into the biscuit tin. So, one bad meal isn't going to derail you and take you off your course, but you just need to get back on track, wake up the next morning, and it's amazing how those small, consistent, innocuous changes can really make a difference. Like you said, not having lunch every day by eating out, or not having that cappuccino coffee on the way to the train station, or those small things that might not seem very much, those £3.50s or whatever, day on day, week on week, month on month, they really do stack up, don't they? And they can be the difference between reaching some of those goals or putting money aside for a holiday or something that you really want to treat yourself to, by just making small tweaks and things that really don't make that big a difference, by making that coffee at home and taking it with you rather than buying one on your way to the station and things. Is that one of the things that you did? You mentioned about the lunch thing.
Yeah. So the lunches, the coffees, the Wednesday night pints, all was scaled back. But I also used the roundup feature on Monzo, and that for me was a big game changer, because you pay £2.80 for something, in your head it's already £3, and that 20 pence adds up. So that whether that's train tickets, whatever you're buying, it will round it up for you. And that quickly stacked up, and then at the end of the month I'd use that extra money to put towards the allocated money that I had going towards the debt. And now, obviously, in a different format, I still use it, and I put that extra money into investments. So very, very different way of thinking. You kind of flip it on the head. Now that money's growing instead of it paying off for, my mistakes.
So I haven't heard of that feature before. So is that where, for example, you said if you pay £2.80, you've elected to have an extra 20p charged at that time that you'll get put aside into a savings account? Is that what you're saying?
It goes directly into a pot, which has interest on it as well. So you're actually generating interest on that saving. So it
I
could
love
be
that.
£2 and it will take 99 pence for you. So it's so effective, because, as I say, like, your head is already, I've spent £3 as far as I'm concerned. And so, yeah, it massively helps. And now I use it for many different things, for investing. As I get closer to Christmas, I don't put it into investments, and I leave it in the pot. And then as I get to Christmas, I have no financial worries as it comes to presents and Christmas Day, etc. So it's a really, really good way of just kind of, because it's one of those things, it's a mental thing. You don't remember it, and then you log in and look, and you're like, oh, I've got 120 quid, like, fantastic. So it's a nice way of doing it.
I think it's the techie equivalent, because I remember when my dad used to come home and he would empty his pockets out and he would have loose change and he would put those into a bottle,
Yeah.
and we would again open the bottle at Christmas or whenever it was, and we would count up all the money. But we very, very rarely have loose change these days with this cashless society that we're moving into. So it's the new digital equivalent, I guess. So I love that.
Exactly.
That's a really nice feature. And so how did your experience with this personal finance journey that you were on inspire you to start up the Gains and help other people? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so as I sort of said earlier, I've been in hospitality nearly 15 years. Actually, yesterday was my last day in the industry. I have gone full time. I know it's super exciting.
So you're fully self-employed now?
I am fully self-employed now, fully in.
Oh, my days. I'm celebrating with you.
Thank you so much. It's kind of felt like a weight off my shoulders, if I'm being frankly honest. It's been coming for so long, and I've been really, like, apprehensive about actually making it, but then I just thought, sod it, jump off the cliff. You got to do it. And I'm now day one. So this is day one. We're talking on day one, which is really, really fun. So
your new self-employed life, and your parachute has opened, and you know that you are going to land safely because of all the legwork that you've put in, I think, to make sure that your next stepping stone into self-employment is going to be successful. So, all credit to you. So that's really exciting. So tell us about Up the Gains and how it helps others.
Yeah, so and just to go back to that journey, I was in hospitality, and obviously I went through this debt process, got myself out, really got in deep into investments and now property, and grew my net worth to the point where I was helping a lot of other people in the family and their friends, and it got to friends of friends. And then in COVID, it absolutely exploded because everybody was sitting down, and I had a WhatsApp group, and I was like talking to all these people all the time, and I just thought,
a captive audience.
Yeah, it's like all these people here wanting to know. I'm getting phone calls about it. Like, there's a business here. There's 100% a business, or there is at least somewhere. I need to create somewhere where they can go and have this information, so they don't bother me 24/7. So essentially, that I really saw a gap in the market, because when I was learning, a lot of the financial educators out there, they're fantastic, but they're not the most relatable people as such. You can often regard them as a suit, essentially. And I felt like there was no one really singing the note for the people. Like, I've been through this. I've been through the hard rock and mill. I know how to do it. I don't need a financial degree to tell you that you can do this. And I felt like that as I say, I'm a bit of a social animal. I like talking, and that, I felt like my personality and what I've learned, I could bring something to the table and to the conversation here. So,
and you'd learned some systems and processes that had worked really well for you, and so I guess people were asking you, how have you done it? Because they were super impressed, and it was inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. I think it started with my sisters, and that was a big step, like getting them started. I'd love to get my mom onto it, but I think she's a lost cause at this stage. She loves
never say never.
She loves a spending spree, and that's who she is. So at least hopefully I'll be able to sort her out when she gets older. So yeah. So I mean, look, it got to the point where I was like, right. So I started writing because obviously the marketing background and the branding background really helped me there. So I wanted to create something that was both visually impactful and also really, really talk to people. And so we, the plan was, extensive guides on a website if people want to read, but also we have the podcast and the YouTube channel, which allows people audio and visual as well, because everybody learns differently, and I felt like I needed to operate in all of those mediums. So we've been growing this now for 2 years in the background while I've sort of had a full-time job. So I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 hours before work, and then 4 hours in the evening, and most Saturdays and Sundays. So it's been a lot of sacrifice to get to this point, but really, really happy with the growth and how it's gone so far. So yeah.
And I think that's the funny thing, isn't it? People suddenly come across you and they think it's been an overnight success when they don't see all of the extra hours that you've done, sort of putting the graft in for your self-employed journey. And I think that that's one of the big things that always surprises people when they do get going, that they're not recognized for all those extra late hours, early starts, weekends and time, and those sacrifices that they have to make for their small business. And then, when things do start turning a corner and they start to become successful and get onto people's radar, and people are like, oh my God, you're so lucky, just made this overnight success. And, and it appears like that. But you know what? It's been 10 years in the making, or 5 years or 3 years, whatever it is. And I feel very much like that with Pocket PA. People don't realize it's been going for 6-7 years, and it's not some household name at this point or whatever, but hopefully at some point we'll turn a corner and then people will just say, oh, that's so lucky you had that idea. And I'll be thinking, oh my God, if only you knew what has been going into it. It is blood, sweat and tears, particularly when you're a micro business and you are just on your own at the beginning, and it can seem very overwhelming to be on that journey and quite isolating, and you don't know anyone that's experiencing quite the same things. But there's a whole collective, a whole community of people like us that are all passionate about what we love and want to share and help others. And I think that it's really nice when we bring them together and the journeys coincide. So what would be some of the practical steps that someone can take to start improving their own financial situation on, right from day dot, if they don't feel that they've really got a good handle on their finances and they might have some debt, some credit card debt or some loans or whatever, and they want to start making an impact? Where would they start, Sammie?
Yeah. So look, if you're in that position, I think that you have to accept where you are yourself. That's the first port of call. If you don't understand that, you will always end up back where you were again. So having a word with yourself is a good start.
Not being so harsh on yourself either. I think not being unkind and thinking, how the hell did I get here? Oh my God, this is such a failure point as well, because,
No.
You are where you are when you actually decide to make that step, I guess. It's about recognizing, acknowledging it. And
it's a rebirth.
Yeah. And not thinking, God, I'm shit with money.
Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Reinforcing that that blueprint that might not be, supporting you, and stop berating yourself and just thinking, right, well, this is going to be the beginning of a fresh start, I guess. So yeah, acknowledging it, but not being too unkind to yourself.
And everybody's different. And some people require a different way of learning, and that's totally fine. But for me, that's the first step. You need to understand where you are, and then you need to set yourself some goals, and that's the main thing. Like, what is it you actually want? Like, everybody says, oh yeah, I want to be financially free. Great, but what does that mean to you? And what is it that you actually want to achieve out of that? It could be retiring early, and I want to travel the world. Fantastic. I want to buy a house in Italy and move out there for 6 months of the year. What is that goal? Because then you can actually work towards something. And then what I say to people, that's your long-term goal. What's your short-term goal? And also, what's a medium-term goal look like for you? Because it's exactly the same with that snowball technique. You've got to knock off things as you go, and that will keep you accountable as you keep moving through this process. And then if you're struggling with things, a mental jig, I've done this with a few people actually, and they love it. It's, if you're struggling, use the 3 account system. So one account, your current account, you get paid into that, and that's where you pay all of your bills out of. You then have a secondary account, which is your savings account. And I'll come back to that one in a moment. And your third is your pay off your debts or invest account. And your second account is your one that you usually have as your everyday saver, and you might put 50 quid in there, and then halfway through the month you're dipping back into it because you need it. And what the important thing about that account is, and make sure it's a completely separate account that has a card, and don't download the mobile app for that. So you would physically have to go into branch or phone them up to move the money, and you take the card, get the card delivered to you, and go to a place of mental significance for you. It could be top of the hill where you like walking the dog or whatever, and get someone to film you cutting the card in half. And that's a really big mental step. I am on this path now, and I'm going to do this. And then you utilize the system when you pay yourself first. So you get paid into your account, but you pay yourself as a small business owner, and you pay yourself first. You pay the money into those 2 accounts, which you might segment down by percentage, depending on where you are in that journey. And you essentially then, only after you've paid yourself, do you actually then pay your bills, your rent, your mortgage, and your council tax or whatever. That's what you need to do. And that's a really good stepping stone to help you get started and start thinking about money in a bit more of a conformed way.
And how important is the role of mindset in achieving financial freedom? I mean, how can individuals develop a positive money mindset? Because we all come to the world with a clean blank slate, and then we grow up and we have a childhood and we have loads of different influences coming in, and it slowly develops our financial blueprint, which I talk about, is sort of programmed into us, and the experiences that we have and things that we see and things that our parents say, and how different people of influence handle and behave with money. So somehow we become this product of our environment as we're growing up, and we have these specific thoughts, and as I say, this blueprint around how we behave with money, how we spend money, whether we're a saver or whether we feel anxious around money. So how important is it to sort of acknowledge your blueprint and work on sort of changing it in any way? Or what sort of things can people do to support a new positive mindset that's better for them for their financial freedom journey?
It's a great question. The most important thing that you can do is keep the fact that you still have a life to live alongside all of this. Don't still feel like that I'm telling you to go and lock yourself in a room and, you know, you can't go out and enjoy yourself. That is absolutely not the case. And I definitely don't do that. And like, I would never encourage anybody to do that. So what I have is a budgeting tool. You can check it out on the website. And actually within that is a 15% fun and development amount. So if you've got 100% of savings, 15% of that is going towards stuff that I really, really want to do. And that might be for those new trainers. It might be for that holiday. It might be for a course that I really want to do. Or it might just be a pub fund, you know, like I want to go out and see my mates, like do those things, 100% do those things. Alongside of that, you can still attribute and still pay off your debt and still invest and still have a positive, fun life. And that for me is really, really, really important, because I've been there. I've shut myself in that room and locked myself away, and it was a crap year. You know, I won't say it wasn't. It was awful. And so that's why I say to people, like, come on, we've got stuff to do. This is a journey, but along the, you know, you have to live the journey. You can't not, you know, you can't just shut yourself away. And I feel like that's really, really important.
It's not sustainable, is it? If you're just depriving yourself the whole time, you're very less likely to reach your end goal if you're feeling so deprived. And I take it back to that whole diet thing. It's about some balance, isn't it? And being able to reward yourself when you reach milestones and just having a small treat. But I love the way that you're, you know, specifically setting side money for a sort of a fun fund, if that's what you want to call it, or, you know, a living life.
Yeah.
And making sure that it's palatable to be able to reach your end destination. And, you know, you should be budgeting, but it's great that you choose a certain amount and you know what you've got, and when it's spent, because that's part of being disciplined, isn't it? To reach your goals, we have to be disciplined in life in order to you know, achieve big successes and stuff. So that's a really great thing. And in addition to managing your personal finances, you've also established multiple successful businesses. So what advice have you got for some aspiring entrepreneurs that might be listening to us today?
I'm a side hustler. I absolutely live for it.
Me too.
I just find it so much fun. Like, I'm constantly on the lookout for like stuff that how can I spin this? The biggest one for me has been trainer reselling, and that is massive. And the profit margins on it are insane, and the workload is good. And because as I sort of mentioned before, I'm a bit of a trainer buff, and like for me to have to do that is fun because I understand that world. So I would always say to people, like, try and find something that you like and you're really interested in, and look at ways that people are already monetizing it, and perhaps think of a new spin, or just jump on the train. Like, there is there's a lot out there for people. So yeah, trainer reselling for me has been massive. I've done so many different things, freelanced on Fiverr, copywriting. You know, I've done digital marketing consultancy along the side. I've helped people with a social media strategy, whatever it is. I'm utilizing my skills and what I love. I'm really putting it to work, and that's allowed me to, all of those funds I will either attribute into an investment pot, but then I'll siphon 20% off, which might go into a holiday pot, and that pays for your holiday for the year or the Christmas, or however you want to do it. So yeah, I just have fun. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, if you're doing a job or a side hustle, it's got to be fun for you. Otherwise, you're never going to stick to it or try and really, when it going gets tough, because not all of the side hustles you make money from day one. Sometimes you've got to put a bit of work in for 3 months and then it might start paying off. But if you love it, it's like, oh, cool, this is so much fun. And when you earn that first pound from your side hustle, it's like, oh my God, I did it. And I love that moment. And I feel like everybody should go through that. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And I love it how this whole gig economy is sort of evolving, because it's never been easier to set up a side hustle. You really just need a great idea, a little bit of energy, a phone, a bit of internet connection. And there's really no barriers anymore. And it doesn't matter, there are kids in their bedrooms literally having the most incredible side hustles and learning the beginnings of business and how to make a profit. And there's no reason why we as grown-ups or adults, even if you've got like a regular full-time employed role, can't start off and dip your toe in the water by having a side hustle. And I think back to all the things that I've done. I've literally I don't know, had about 10 or 20 different things at one point in time. I've had a pancake business, Pancake Passion. I made the kids all get involved. We all had T-shirts printed and that sort of thing. I've had a baby massage business, a spray tantastic business, an online photo editing. I've just had loads of things, and I'm a real believer in just do things as long as you enjoy them, and then there'll be something else. And, you know, I've got another list of 3 or 4 things that I want to do after Pocket PA that I'm sort of knowing that I need to put on a back burner because I don't want to get distracted. I have this, you know, ability to see lots of shiny objects and go off after them, but I know I need to be sitting in the space at the moment with Pocket PA. So
for sure.
I'm trying to hang on and put those on for another day. But you've also built a stock portfolio, and that can be really intimidating for lots of people. So what tips or guidance do you have for anyone that might want to start investing in stocks? Is it a really scary area, or is it something available for everyone, even just us little people, the side hustlers?
Look, if you don't want to, you know, that you can go full hog with it and learn how to individually stock pick and trade, but most people don't want to do that. And so there's some fantastic apps out there now called robo advisors, and essentially what they do is they ask you a bunch of questions and they'll establish your risk tolerance, essentially whether or not you can handle high risk or medium risk or low risk, and they'll also attribute like your age and your goals essentially to what you want to get to. And then they will develop using AI. Actually, they use a tailored portfolio for you exactly based on your answers. And essentially what you're doing is buying a piece of the world's economy. So you're basically betting that the world won't crash, and you just keep putting money into it, like using a stocks and shares ISA, which you can invest up to £20,000 per year tax free, and it's not subject to capital gains tax. So you have a brilliant opportunity there that you can utilize with your budgeting skills, which you've just picked up essentially, and your little 10-20% that you're putting into this after you've paid off your debts, please, as well. Don't start investing until you've paid off your debts.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? Because you don't want to start getting sidetracked when you've still got some money that you need to repay.
Exactly.
Because it can seem a bit addictive once it starts going up a little bit to think, oh my God, I'm going to have to put all my money into that. But, you know, hang on, you're not quite ready to do that yet.
100%. And look, what I would say as well, like once you've started that process, start thinking about ways that you can diversify your income. So, you know, if you don't know what's going to happen to your business where you work tomorrow, something bad could happen. And if you're then left with, you know, holding the bag with a redundancy package, or even just completely having to take the chop, and suddenly you're like, oh my God, what have I got? So think about ways that you can diversify your income streams and put that income that you get to work via investing. And that could be within, you know, a stock portfolio, or indeed property, as I know you have, Caro, as well. So I think like there's a real opportunity to very quickly grow your net wealth. And you do that by consistently investing. It's called compound interest. So basically you would earn interest on your interest. So, you know, I might get £100 this year and I'll get 10% on that. I've got £110, and next year I'm earning money on that £10 interest that I've got there. And that, as you grow that and keep adding to it, it spirals very quickly, exactly the same as a snowball. So, that's what I would say to people. It's about the long game. You want to get into investing, don't think of it like I'm going to be rich next year by trading stocks like these guys in suits and these big offices in Liverpool Street. That's not it. Like you just crack on, set it up, automate it, pay in each month, and crack on with your life, and then come back in 10 years and go, wow, I'm out now. Thank you. There's my resignation, and I'm off to Italy to go on that tour, you know. So that's the way I look at it.
I think there are these sort of films that we see, Wolf on Wall Street, and we believe that suddenly we could all do that same thing, but it's actually not quite that get rich quick scheme, is it? Mad. And I loved how you just touched on the sort of having more than one source of income, because I don't know why I have this thing in my head about this gold number of 7, having 7 different streams of income, and that's always been my sort of thing that I've tried to work towards, making sure that I have diversified different revenue streams. But do you encourage that in what you do at Up the Gains for people to look at having different sources of revenue coming in? Yeah,
exactly. For me, it's really, really important to have multiple streams of income. You know, I think you build them up as well. Don't think tomorrow that you're going to have 7 streams of income. It doesn't happen like that. Target one, and get that going and get that making you a profit, and then look to target the second one. And you might find that process takes you 10 to 15 years, and that's absolutely fine. But at that 15-year point, you might be in a position where you've got all of these different revenue streams paying you, and actually you've already done a lot of the work on some of these things, and actually, you might not need to work, or you might be able to go and start that business or do that other thing that you really wanted to do. You might even be able to, pack it all in and say, I'm going to volunteer and give back. And that's the opportunity that you create for yourself by doing these things. So yeah, 100%. I would always look to diversify income.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm I'm in my 50s now, so I've managed to get my sort of different streams of income, but certainly the last 3 or 4 have only come in the last 5 years. I certainly didn't have this mindset or this opportunity when I was in my 20s. So it is something that happens with experience and time, and as you start to have more income coming in, you get more opportunities and different ways to be able to invest it to then generate more income coming in. And I know that you've got a property now, and that's a really significant achievement, particularly in this day and age where interest rates are hiking up and it is very difficult to get on into the property market. Have you got any insights or tips for someone that might be wanting to get on the property ladder, but it feels so far away? Is it achievable for anyone or everyone these days, or is it just a handful of lucky people?
It's not for a handful of lucky people, absolutely not. I think with these days, there are government schemes I used Help to Buy, that's closed now. And that allowed us to get on the market. Unfortunately, in COVID, obviously, we were stuck at home, weren't spending enough, so we could really hammer hard on getting the rest of a deposit together. And we were already sort of chipping away at that process as we go. Unfortunately, stock investments, etc., you can then sell them, and suddenly you've got the money to then put into a house, and that's exactly what we did. Fortunately, I did it with a partner, so I went 50-50. And that's really took the pressure off. I probably just about maybe have done it now if I was on my own. So, as well with your partner, you get double the amount of 4.5 of your total 4.5. You can times 4.5 of your total household income. And that is massive, because then, you can actually get 2-3 bedroom house rather than the 1 bedroom flat you could afford on your own. So use a lifetime ISA at the moment. It's a big one. You can pay £4,000 into it every year, and the government will add £1,000 bonus. Make sure you leave it for a minimum of 12 months. So if you're looking to move in the next 12 months, don't open a lifetime ISA. It's not the one for you. But if you're at the beginning of this process, or you have £5,000 tucked away in a savings account, put it into the cash and to lifetime ISA, and you'll get the bonus after 12 months. So when you withdraw that money and put it towards your first property, because it is for your first property, or for retirement as well, you can use a lifetime ISA for retirement. That's a brilliant way of 4 or 5 years, you've got £5,000 from the government. It's not bad to get yourself on the market.
So those lifetime ISAs, they're also called leases, aren't they? I think the L for the ISA part. And I think your top tip there was to make sure you've got a partner so that you can you can benefit from having them. So yeah, step number one, get yourself a partner if you're thinking about getting on the property ladder.
That certainly helps.
Oh, Sammie, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today. So if our listeners would like to find out more and connect with you, where's the best place for them to come and find you?
Sure. So we're at upthegains.co.uk or Up the Gains Money on Instagram and Twitter and all of the jazz, YouTube, all of them. You'll find us on all of them. And we also have the podcast as well, the Money Gains podcast. And that's on Spotify and Apple and all of the standard Spotify, all the podcasting streaming platforms. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, listen, good luck with your new self-employment journey. I'm so excited that we've caught you on day one of your new beginning. And I know that you're going to just go from strength to strength. So I have loved speaking with you today. I hope everyone has enjoyed this week's episode. Again, thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead and lots of lovely money with the least amount of stress. And until next time, let's catch up soon. Thanks for listening to the Earn More, Stress Less podcast with me, Caro Sison. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then do hit subscribe so we can catch up again soon. And please kindly leave a review if you've got a moment, and share with anyone else that you think this podcast could help on their self-employed journey. If you're ready to make bigger breakthroughs in your business life and want to get way more organised and understand your finances the really simple way, then start your very own 14-day free trial today using the super powerful software tool Pocket PA that I made for my own son and daughter. Go to pocketpa.com/podcast and let's get you on the way to earning more money and stressing much less. Have a great week, whatever you're doing.